Welcome to Survey Matters with Duncan-Parnell. My name is Mark White, and I'm the Training and Support Manager for DP. Today, I want to talk to you guys about a new software release from Trimble Access 2025.10 and the patch 2025.11. But first, be sure to hit that thumbs up and give us a like. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you get notifications. So today I want to talk to you guys about the new Trimble Access releases. So back in April, it's July 2025 right now, back in April of 2025, Trimble released Trimble Access 2025.10. And then just about a week ago, here in July, they released 2025.11. A lot of great new features in this 2025 release of Trimble Access, and I want to highlight some of the best of them so you guys can start incorporating them in your workflow if you're not aware. All right, so the first one is the automatic resection. So if you've got a CSV point file of control linked to the job, or you've got control in the job, you don't have to put a number in the point name box anymore. You'll see it says optional there on the screen. When you go in to do a resection, you can measure points that are in the job, and Trimble Access will automatically choose the points based on the geometry of those observations to calculate the resection. Now, that'll give you a chance to look at it and make sure you're happy with it, but it will automatically choose the right points based on the geometry of the shots that you took. And the backside box has also been replaced. So when you did a resection in the past, there was always a box on there that said backside, and you had to check that because technically all your shots in a resection were backsides. And so if you wanted to use it in the resection, you had to check that box. And that kind of confused people sometimes. But now there's a foresight-only box. So what that's there for is if you shoot one point in your resection, you're walking across the job to another point to shoot, and you've got a couple of points or a point or two you want to pick up as foresight, you can go ahead and check that box, shoot it as a foresight, uncheck that box, shoot your other resection points, and it'll solve the resection and give you coordinates for those foresights you took along the way. All right. So automatic resection is a cool new feature in the 2025 version of Access. Then also there's been a couple of enhancements that people have been asking for a long time as far as line work goes in Access. So this is under measure codes. It now supports two different workflows. The first one is the way we've always been doing it, where we create a feature library in FXL that has codes in it that define lines, right? So maybe I've got a CL for center line for the center line of a road, and it's going to draw a line on the screen, or EP or BC, edge of pavement, back of curb. Those are my codes that are going to be on the points that actually draw the lines on the screen. Now that line works viewable in Trimble Access, but it's not stored in the job. It's just viewable on the screen. So now in 2025, you can store polylines with codes on the lines instead of codes on the points. And what this does is by coding the lines, it creates polylines or polygons that are actually stored in the job and can be exported as DXFs and imported into TBC, or just exported into a DXF, and you'll have your line work there, right? So people have asked for that a long time, like, hey man, I see the lines on the screen in Access, but when I put it into TBC, I don't see the lines anymore. That's because you had the codes were actually on the points. You had to process the line work, and TBC would draw it. This actually creates polylines and polygons that can go out as DXFs and into your CAD software, or that line work can go straight into TBC. And how you do that is you go to the menu, go to settings, go to your feature libraries. And if you've already got feature libraries in Trimble Access, you can just open up the feature library you want to modify there, go to options at the bottom, and you'll see that there's a place for lines and codes. And you can create feature-coded line work with codes on the points. That's the way we've always done it. Or you can store polylines with the codes on the lines, and that's going to create those actual polylines and polygons in Trimble Access that you can export out. Okay. And then also in the Feature Definition Manager, if you're creating a new FXL file, you can go to the file properties, and there's an option now for store polylines with codes on lines. If you set that to yes, it's going to create those polylines because the codes are actually on the lines. If you say no, then it's going to be just like it is now, where it is just putting codes on the points, and you have to process that in Trimble Business Center. All right. So another new upgrade for Access in 2025 is some shapefile enhancements. So when you export out shape files from Access, it's always done points in the past, but now you see on the screen there's an option for points, lines, and areas. So you can now export out your line work. You can export out your areas as well. And that way you don't have to draw that in ArcGIS. If you've done it in Access, it will now export those lines and areas. It will also give you an option to zip those files up, because when you export a shapefile, it's going to create shapefiles for each different feature for the points, the lines, and the areas. So it gives you a lot of different files, so you can check the box there and it will zip those up for you as well. And then improved target icons are now available in Access 2025, just to help you guys visually, when you're running a robot, know what target that you have selected. So the target icon now reflects the actual prism type. And here's an example here. So this is the Trimble Traverse Prism. When you go in to set up a prism, when you choose your prism type, it's going to put the right graphic on it. You can also name it, like I named this one Traverse, to help you, and it shows you the offset there, so you know the offset that you're measuring, and the question mark for the rod height. I didn't have a rod height in there, but this now gives you a visual indication of your prism. So there's a Traverse kit, there's a Trimble multi-track or an MT1000, and then also there's a red halo that flashes around the prism if auto lock's not locked. So in the past, we put a padlock on the prism when auto lock was locked, but that padlock was kind of small, sometimes hard to see. Now you've got a red light that flashes around the prism, so it's really easy to tell when auto lock is not on the prism there. All right. Now, another new feature in 2025 is the ability to choose in the Auto Connect screen which receiver, if you're doing a base rover, which receiver Bluetooth is going to connect up to automatically. So when you open up Trimble Access, you see the robot at the top there. There's always an instrument flashing. It'll go from robot to GPS receiver to SX12. It's looking for an auto connection. If you tap on that icon, you'll come to this screen, and under Trimble GNSS receivers, you can now choose whether you want Bluetooth to automatically connect to your base or connect to your rover there, okay? Tape distances has some upgrades too. If you remember the video we did last year for the 2024 release, there were some updates in tape distances. Now they've updated it further where you can put in angles for sides. Tape distances has always worked off a 90-degree angle, so if you're measuring up a building or something, but now you'll see the direction can be defined by right angles along and across, so you can go along the line and then perpendicular to get an angled line, or you can actually key in an angle or tap on the screen to get an angle for tape distances. Now, another great new feature there. If you like to stake out line work or you like to stake out roads in Trimble Access, they've also added the ability to stake stations relative to a selected start station. So, traditionally, if you choose 2 points to stake out a line, or you choose a polyline and the station at the beginning of the line is 0, all the stationing for your intervals and everything is based on that 0 station. But now when you go in here, I've got a polyline I'm staking out. When you go in there, there's a little icon to the right of the station box. If I tap that, I can set my method to 0 based, where it'll start at the stationing at the beginning of the line, or I can do relative, and I can say I want my station intervals to start at whatever station I type into that box. That's just a way, if you're kind of staking out in the middle of the line, you don't want the station to go all the way back to the beginning. If I put in, say, 2 plus 0, 0, and a station interval of 20 or 25 feet, every time I hit station plus, it's going to go from 2 plus 0, 0 to 2 plus 25. I don't have to go all the way up from 0 to get to that station I want to start at, okay? So just a shortcut there to make your life easier, staking out lines and polylines or roads in Trimble Access in 2025. All right, cool new coordinate feature update for those of us in the United States. Trimble has added the alpha version of the U.S. State Plane Coordinate System for 2022. Okay, that's the new datum that's coming out. So you'll see here, I'm in North Carolina. Under System, there's United States NSRS 2022 A1. This is the alpha release. And when I choose North Carolina, you'll see it's no longer North Carolina 3200 like it has been. It's North Carolina 370,001. So the new system, the new zone, I've got a local datum of ITRF 2020. Again, it's alpha. Global reference datum of ITRF 2020 in alpha form. And then down there, you'll see the geoid model is now the geoid of 2022 in the alpha version. And if you don't have that loaded on your data collector, don't worry. When you set it up like this, and if you're connected to the internet, Trimble Access will automatically download that new geoid model to your controller so you guys can try out the new coordinate system, take a look at it, see what it's going to look like there. Pretty cool new feature in there. So Trimble is also targeting Android 14 now. What does this mean? It means Trimble Access is going to run on the newer versions of Android, right? And when you install Access, you're not going to see a message anymore that you're installing an unsafe application because it's now targeted towards those new versions of Android. Due to enhanced security on Android 14, though, Access is going to prompt you to allow storage permission the first time you run the software. So just be aware that is going to pop up there. So let's look at some of the things that came out in the patch in July for 2025.11. So 2025.11 adds support for the latest DA2 antenna firmware. So if you're running a DA2, the little catalyst antenna with Trimble Access, it now will work with that DA2 when you load the latest firmware on there. Also resolved a connection issue if you're using third-party network in-trip casters. This would be like RTK2Go or UCORS, something like that, a third-party system for a network RTK. If you were getting a 502 bad gateway error when you updated to 2025.10, 2025.11 takes care of that issue for you. Runs smooth. I've tested it. Works really good. All right. Number of improvements with Trimble Connect. So there were some project refresh issues where you'd refresh on the controller and stuff had been deleted online, but it wouldn't show it as deleted. So that's been fixed. File upload errors that people were getting, a lot of those have been addressed as well. There's also a number of Esri shapefile export issues. We talked about now you have the ability to do lines and areas. Well, some of the other export issues that were popping up, some errors have been addressed as well. Application errors were popping up sometimes with radios, other areas inside Trimble Access where it might just crash and say you had an application error. Those have been addressed. And finally, an issue with the TDC6 where the function keys wouldn't work if you had Android 14. That's been addressed as well. So you guys running TDC6s can now use your function keys again on Android 14. So those are just a few of the highlights of the new version of Trimble Access. If you hadn't checked it out, you weren't aware of it, now you know some of the handy things in there that you guys can start adding to your workflows. So you can just run the Trimble Installation Manager on your data collector and go ahead and upgrade to 2025.11. Now, if you're out of warranty, contact your Trimble dealer so you can get that warranty back on and you can start using Trimble Access 2025. Start using some of these new features. Hey, thanks for stopping by Survey Matters with Duncan-Parnell. My name is Mark White, and I will see you on the next one.